What's up guys, it's Mr. Wu, and in this video I'd like to talk a little bit about ways to increase our profits or pass the savings along to our customers. I'm talking about the painting business in the upcoming year of 2024. Now, I lost money on some jobs in 2023, and it was because for many reasons, but right at the top of that list is because of products and pricing. So I've had to review some things about my business model and make some decisions and some revisions, and I've come up with a new business model that I'll implement for 2024 to maximize profits and make as much money as possible. Or if I want to offer a more competitive price to my customers, I can do that as well and stay ahead of all my competitors. So here's what I want to talk about first, is getting into what types of paints and primers are actually worth their money and what would be a waste. Because it seems to me like I've been doing this, guys, for like 25 years now. And it seems like in the past year, the products have gone up more than they have in the entire 20 prior years. It's getting crazy. I use a lot of Roma Bio masonry flat paint on brick houses. It's a great product. Here it is. I've got just a gallon of it. Now I usually buy 5-gallon buckets, but this is a great product. Here it is dry. You guys can see this. Here's a dry. It doesn't dry like typical paint. It's like a brick. It's like a block of concrete. So it actually goes onto the brick and bonds to the brick and becomes a part of the brick. It's a great product. And now for years it's been going for $250 for a 5-gallon bucket. So real easy to price, about the same as your, Duration from Sherwin-Williams or Resilience, or, right there in that ballpark. So price is going to be about the same to everything else that I've always priced. But in this past year, it's gone up to $350 a 5. Now that's a big difference. And you've got to be aware of how these products are jumping up in price. And so, for me now, if I'm going to offer Roma Bio, it's going to have to be for more money. I'm going to have to charge more money. That is a product that is worth it. I would still, even though the price is higher now, prices of everything are higher. But that is the one best paint for brick. We'll talk about some other options and affordable ways to paint brick in this video towards the end. First, I want to start off with some interior paint. The reason I mentioned the Roma Bio is because it's just a great example of a product where I used to get 5-gallon buckets of it for $250, and just in 1 year it's gone up to almost $350. Let's start with primers. Now, for me, the best primer out there and the most universal primer is Zinsser Cover Stain. Zinsser Cover Stain, for years it's been 18 to 20 bucks. Now all of a sudden it's closer to 40. I think you get it at the Home Depot or Lowe's for like 38 bucks, something like that. But it can be used on just about everything: bare wood, water stains, even drywall. So it's a really good primer, all purpose. Use it for everything. That's the best bang for the buck. And I mean, that's one thing where I would say go ahead and buy a 5-gallon bucket of it, because you'll save even more per gallon by buying a 5, and just keep it in your vehicle, in your work van or whatever, and just have it, or in your shop or whatever, and you have it. And you can buy gallons of it too. But that is my typical primer, my go-to primer. Does the best job and has always been worth the price, even though the price is climbing because it's oil-based. From primers, I want to switch over and talk a little bit about ceiling paint. Now, ceiling paint here in Tennessee, Sherwin-Williams used to offer a product called Mid-South. And when I started my painting business in Tennessee in 2017, the price for Mid-South was $16.50 a gallon. And it was great. You really don't, it's a clay-based paint, okay? And a lot of these flat ceiling paints, that's what they are, clay-based. And that's all it needs to be. It's on a ceiling, it's way up high, it just has to look flat, so you don't need anything phenomenal to paint ceilings with. Now, you can do a phenomenal job. You could get Duration or Emerald and do it in a matte, or even in satin. That can look really cool with multiple coats and just get everything nice and smooth. But I mean, typically we don't need to do that. Those are more like custom paint jobs, okay? Now, your standard customer is probably just going to want a flat white ceiling and keep the prices reasonable. So the new product that I've been using, I've used Promar 200, I've used Promar 400, I've used Mid-South, I've used Duration Flat, I've used Super Paint, I've used Benjamin Moore ceiling paint. Benjamin Moore ceiling paint, to me, is just not worth the money. is for their better Moresco ceiling paint or whatever their higher end ceiling paints are, not worth the money, because I can make the ceiling look good with Promar 400. Okay, but now Promar 400 has climbed, so it's no longer, all through 23, Promar 400 has been my ceiling paint, and it's been a great way to make money, and it always looks great. I've never got, it's super flat, it's easy to work with. Some painters complain about how it goes on. I have never had a problem. It's just standard flat white ceiling paint, and it's been fine, but now it's getting close even for the 400. It's high 20s per gallon. And when you stop and think about how much ceiling paint we're going to use throughout the year, forget it. Give me a good deal, give me a good price, or else I'm going to find one. And I did. And so it's PPG Speed Hide. You can get it at Home Depot. If you buy a 5-gallon bucket of it, you get it for $18 a gallon. Guys, I just finished a 2,500 square foot house, and I used it on all the ceilings. Now, I'm not going to come in here and tell you it covers great and it's the absolute best ceiling paint I've ever used. No, it doesn't cover quite as well. It covers fine. You know, if you're going white over a previously painted white ceiling, it's going to be one coat. It's fine. It's no problem. And maybe, you know, if it's really dingy ceiling, maybe it will need to. But it's still, at $18 a gallon, it is my new ceiling paint. And I'm either going to make more money or pass the savings along to my customer. Moving on to walls. I say to my Sherwin-Williams rep, who I love, by the way, she's great, but I say to my Sherwin-Williams rep, listen, I don't need discounts on all the paints in here. Give me the best prices you can possibly give me on like one ceiling paint, one wall paint, one exterior paint. Help me out on like 3 or 4 paints, and I will buy them exclusively and give you a lot of business. And so I told her that with cashmere. The prices of Duration have gone up. The prices of emerald wall paint are high. Even super paint. Super paint's okay, but it's not a, you know, anything to write home about. And the prices, well, it's fairly priced. I'll say that. But I said, give me the cashmere. Cashmere is, you know, higher quality supposedly than say super paint. I was like, what's the best you can do? So I wound up getting cashmere for like $32 a gallon. And by the end of the year, I'll tell you that I will never use cashmere again because of all the callbacks and all the problems that arise. Did you know that if you paint walls throughout the house with cashmere, low luster or whatever, even the flat enamel, it doesn't really matter. If someone goes and takes blue painter's tape and puts a poster on the wall, you know, when they pull that poster off, it'll peel the paint. It happened multiple times with different customers on different jobs with cashmere. So that's out of here. Doesn't hold up. Not very washable, just not a great paint. So I'm done using it. I've used all different wall paints. My favorite paint is the Regal Matte by Benjamin Moore, but it's really high price. So at least here in Tennessee, and I've talked to a couple painter buddies of mine up in the north, and we all kind of seem to agree that Benjamin Moore's prices are getting so high that on a lot of jobs, they're kind of pricing themselves right out of the market. Now, like I say, if you're just doing custom homes all the time and that's the market that you've managed to get in, then yeah, prices are going to be sky high. You're dealing with just millionaires exclusively, really high-end homes. Yeah, they're going to want the best stuff, and prices no object. A lot of us aren't in that market. You know, that's a luxury. When you get in there, it's like speed doesn't matter. You can go slow as you want, build whatever you want. That's not been my experience as a painter. I'm always painting for wealthy people with really nice homes, but by the same token, it's a competitive business. We got to move quickly in order to make money. So my wall paint for 2024 that I'm going to use is a contractor grade wall paint. And contractor grade wall paints get a bad rap because when you go into a new construction home, they're using stuff like Painter's Edge from Sherwin-Williams, or who knows what that even costs, like $9 a gallon or something, or Property Solutions, $11 a gallon. Who knows what it costs? I don't use those products, okay? But when you go into a new construction house, they're building these tall, skinny homes all over Nashville. They're terribly built. They're terrible to look at. The paint jobs are terrible. It's like handing the buyer a bill. You know, in 3 months, everything in here is going to need to be repainted because your dog's going to be marking up the walls and Kids are going to be getting fingerprints everywhere. So to me, it's immoral to use those products. But they all use contractor grade flat paint on all the walls. And then, like I said, 3 months later, everything has to be repainted. So that's why contractor grade paint gets a really bad rep. Now, on the house that I just finished in Nashville, 2,500 square foot house, I told you for the ceilings, Speed Hide by PPG. Get it at Home Depot. That's what I used on the ceilings. On the walls, I used Promar 200 low sheen eggshell. Promar 200 low sheen eggshell. Now you could use satin if it's a house where there's going to be a lot of kids and dogs and things like that. So those are questions you always want to ask your customer. But if it's an old elderly couple living in there, or a young couple with no kids, or whatever it is, matte would typically be the best, or going to look the best on the walls, in my opinion. Hides all the imperfections and just looks really good. Like I said, the Benjamin Moore Regal Matte, I love that product. I like it a lot more than Aura or anything else Benjamin Moore offers on the walls. But the duration is also, it's a great wall paint, but not for close to $50 a gallon. No way. I'm not doing that. It's not worth that. Because if I paint one wall with the duration and another wall with the Promar 200, I could go duration matte on one, Promar 200 low sheen eggshell. You're probably not going to be able to tell the difference. Now, duration, what the good thing about duration and products like it, say Emerald wall paint, is they'll make a mediocre painter look better than he actually is. So let's say he comes in and paints all the walls and then sees a bunch of imperfections and goes and spackles the walls and sands them down, and then he just comes with his roller and just rolls over those patches. It will blend in and look great, and he'll, the walls will look good and he'll look good because it is a good quality paint. You can do like a sheetrock repair in the middle of a wall that was painted 3 years ago and just take the old paint from 3 years ago and roll out that one section where the patch was, and it will blend right in. It's good paint. I'm not knocking it. But what I'm saying is that it's, for me, for the price, I'm not willing to pay it anymore. I can take Promar 200 low sheen eggshell, and as long as I know what I'm doing and I'm a skilled painter, I can make it look really, really good. Okay, so that's why Promar 200 low sheen eggshell or satin is going to be my typical wall paint. Now, if I'm just going to have to buy 1 gallon for an accent wall, I'll go for something that's more of a brand name that kind of pops, like an Emerald wall paint or a Benmore Regal or something like that. And that way, when I take my pictures at the end of the job to publish on the internet or my website for publicity, I've got good brands in there. I'm not just using all contractor grade and say, hey, look at my work and look at me. No, I've got good brands. I've got a variety of paint, and I'll take a picture of the cans with the job and show them all off and show what a great job we can get with these products. That's one of the things that I like to do. So moving on from the wall paint, I'd like to pass on some information about trim paint. So when I'm painting the trim, trim is one area that you really don't want to skimp on. You really don't want to. You got to bite the bullet. The good thing is that you don't have to buy a lot of gallons for trim. It's not like you're covering, the whole surface. That's going to be walls and ceilings. Trim, you get away with less gallons. So it's not a good place to try to save money. Some of my favorite trim paints. I love oil. I love to go with the oil, and the best priced oil paint on the market. It's not as good as Benjamin Moore Satin Impervo. That's the best one. But the last time I bought a gallon of Ben Moore Satin Impervo, I paid like $135 for it. Or at least that was its list price before my discount. So it's crazy high. I can still get Sherwin-Williams Pro Classics oil, either semi-gloss or satin, whichever I pick. I'll usually go with semi-gloss, for like 46, 48, maybe they're increasing price again, so maybe it's going to be up around 50. But that's not a bad price for an oil trim paint, and it looks great, holds up great, super smooth. And for me, that's what it's all about on the trim, is the feel of it. They're all going to look good. I can spray any old latex trim paint. I can spray Solo and it's going to look good. I can spray anything and it's going to look good. But how does it feel? And so right under the Pro Classics oil for me is the Pro Classics Hybrid, semi-gloss hybrid. That, to me, that's probably my favorite latex, or I consider it latex because I don't have to wash my brushes and sprays with thinner. But that's, apart from oil, that's my favorite trim paint. and I think it's the most underrated. It's 1,000 times better than Emerald. It's 1,000 times better. It feels so smooth. I can make Pro Classics Semi-Gloss Hybrid look and feel just like oil. For me, I can get that paint closer to looking and feeling like oil than any other. And it dries real fast, it's easy to sand, and if you're doing a cabinet job, it works really well. I'd say probably some of my best cabinet jobs have been done with the Pro Classics Hybrid Semi-Gloss. They come out really good. If you have an imperfection in it, it's easy to sand, recoat, respray, let it dry, no worries. When you're dealing with oil, the extended dry time, yes, it comes out great. It's durable, holds up, washable, smooth, everything like that. But it takes 12 hours to dry. There's going to be dust particles in the air that land on it. You have there's a lot of room for error. Whereas with the Pro Classics Hybrid, not so much. And so that's one of the latex paints that I recommend above everything. Even next to that would be the Pro Classic Latex. I put that above Emerald. Emerald to me is a total waste of money. I don't know why people would use it. It's not worth the money. I can make Pro Classic Latex look and feel more like oil than I can Emerald. Emerald is thicker, has more of a stipple. The problem with the Pro Classics Latex, say semi-gloss, is that it runs. It runs like the river wild. So you got to be real skilled to use it. But if you take your time and if you are skilled, you can make it work. I'm not recommending it. It's like my third or fourth. The Benmore products, Command on trim is a phenomenal product. So I will use Command all the time. That's one of my higher recommendation. Like I said, trim, not necessarily a place where we want to try to save money. Command is going to run you $75 a gallon or something like that. So it's high priced. There's Satin and Pervo, phenomenal oil-based trim paint. And then Advance. Now that's a pretty good hybrid as well, but long dry time, so not one of my favorites. I'd prefer the Pro Classic Semi-Gloss Hybrid any day. So as we move past that, one more paint I should mention, which I actually just recently saw at Home Depot, is PPG Breakthrough. Now Breakthrough is like PPG's version of Benmore Command, and it's only $50 at Home Depot. So that's something to consider as well. Now these paints will stick to anything. That's what's so good about them. And Sherwin-Williams also offers a solution like this called the multi-surface acrylic. Multi-surface acrylic is also about $50, so it's an alternative to the high price of Benjamin Moore. And if you have, say, cabinets that are that melamine surface or whatever it's called, however you pronounce that word, where it's like it's got like a veneer on it, or just cheap kind of like particle board cabinets or bookcases or anything like that, that you'd worry about how paint's going to adhere and stick to it and hold up, once they start putting books or dishes in them, things like that. This is where you'd want to go with Command, Breakthrough, or multi-surface acrylic by Sherwin-Williams. And they're all very, very similar. Command's the highest in price. The multi-surface acrylic runs too, really. You got to be careful if you're going to spray that. So just a word of caution. Let's talk a little bit about some exterior paints. What I like for the exterior paints, if I'm doing brick, I really like the Roma Bio Masonry Flat. If you've never used it, I recommend that you find a dealer in your area and find it and give it a try. Read up on it. House got to be wet. You got to pressure wash before painting, things like that. It's a little different. Takes a little getting used to, but phenomenal product. If I'm not going to use that, I will use the Benjamin Moore Masonry Primer, followed by Benjamin Moore Ultra Spec House Paint. Ultra Spec House Paint comes in low luster, comes in satin, comes in all different sheens, and it's a phenomenal paint. You don't really have to worry about color retention or anything like that. It's just as good as, say, Sherwin-Williams Super Paint, Resilience, anything like that. Now, Super Paint phased out Resilience, and they're now using this Latitude. I think I've got a 5 of it right here, down here. Latitude, I've got 2 5s of it, and here's the old Resilience. Basically, Latitude is just Resilience in a new label. That's really all it is. But Resilience has been my paint for exteriors for 25 years. My paint jobs hold up unbelievable for 15 years. They still look great. No peeling, no color fading, no nothing. So a lot of these paints, they're fine. The Ultra Spec, same thing. I did a house over the summer in black with it. You know, it still looks great. It went on fine. I'm not going to have any issues with that, even though it went black, which is one of the most challenging colors. Now, I did have some problem with surfactant leaching, because that could happen with any paint that you put that much tint in. What happens is the first time it rains, it causes the surfactants to leach out, and it looks like it rained on the paint. And you'll see these streaks coming down. It's almost like a soapy type of chemical that's inside the paint. That's what surfactants are. And when it gets wet, well, over time, the surfactants will come out. But the more tint you put in, the more surfactants you're putting in. And if they come out fast, like when a rain hits it and pulls them out, you know, because the paint's overloaded in a black or a dark gray or something like that, you run into the problem of surfactant leaching. Now, that happened with Ultra Spec on one job, but like I said, that's happened with Resilience. That's happened with other paints as well along the way. It can happen with, it almost will happen with any paint if it rains shortly after you've painted a surface and it's a really dark exterior color. So other than that, I do like the Benjamin Moore Ultra Spec. And then again, don't skimp, don't save money on the trim. Go More Glow Soft Gloss, you know, or else go with Duration, or go with a Emerald Rain Refresh by Sherwin-Williams, or, you know, use more economical paint on the body of the house. But then when you get to trim, use something with a good label and show your customers, like, I know what I'm doing. Look, I use great paints. My work comes out phenomenal. And you know, like I said, this video is about optimizing our products and our profits for the upcoming year in 2024. Guys, if the video's been helpful to you, if you've watched this long, please give me a like, maybe leave a comment. If you think I'm an idiot and want to tell me, you know, I'm a hack and I don't know what I'm talking about, I'm sure there's plenty of you guys out there. Leave me a comment. Let me know all about it. I'd love to hear from you. I hope it's been good, and we'll see you the next time.